In middle school, I allegedly got into a fight, okay? And when people hear that, for some reason, some people think it sounds cool, but that's just because they don't know all of the details. There was a girl at our school who had a history of picking fights with people, okay? And she was in a classroom alone. I had to go into the classroom to get something. There were no witnesses. We're alone in this room. I'm just walking in to grab something really quick. She starts saying a lot of nasty things to me, and that's fine because I have a lot of experience getting bullied because I'm a very weird person. The only difference between now and when I was in elementary school is that now I'm hot, so I get bullied less. But in the public elementary school I went to, a lot of my teachers were boomers, and so when I got bullied, they didn't care. I would tell them I was getting bullied, and they would try to delegate it back to the students. They would say, well, did you tell Bobby to stop hitting you? And I would say, yeah. And they would say, well, did you try to walk away? And I would be like, I'm in the bus line. Separate us. Do something. They would do nothing. Another thing that I learned as a child is a lot of the times, the adults, they will side with the person who lost the fight. So from this, I learned just to avoid bullying at all costs, avoid any situation where I could be bullied because A, adults weren't going to help me, and B, if I fought back, most of the time I still got in trouble. Fast forward to middle school. Becca's bullying me. I'm ignoring her. I'm like, just get in, get out, say nothing. And as I was walking out of the room, Becca stood up and said, don't ignore me, and slapped me across the back of the head. And I stopped and I said, do not touch me again. And I kept walking. And she said, what are you going to do about it? And then she slapped me back she slapped me again. I said, I'm going to do this. And then I turned around, clocked her up the side of the head. That's what she wanted because now we were face to face. She threw a punch. I ducked, grabbed her legs, and yanked. And she hit the floor with all the drama of a male soccer player. And here's how I know that I'm not the main character, okay? I am no hero. Never have been. So Becca's on the floor. I was like, oh, shit. And then I looked around and I was like, there are no witnesses. Maybe she won't tattle. And she did tattle. I fled the room. She fled to the principal, told on me. The principal called me into her office and she was like, Kate, you can't sweep people's legs out from under them. And I said, I know, but it was self-defense. And she said, I know that, but you still can't do that. You need to go find a teacher. And I said, okay. And then I got sent home. And then my mom said, your principal called me today. And I said, well, what did she say? And my mom said, sounded like that girl had it coming for a long time now.
My daughter made me cry for the first time in my life. I, 28 female, have a 13-year-old daughter. I had her when I was 15 after I was raped by someone who I thought was my friend. My daughter doesn't know this and I decided not to tell her. Keep it in mind. Well, I also have a sister, 35 female. She's honestly the best sister I could ever ask for. Now for an explanation. I was picking my daughter up from school and she seemed like she was in a bad mood, so I wanted to do something that would cheer her up. I asked her if she wanted to go to the mall or go out to the Chinese restaurant she loves. She told me no because my sister had promised to take her to the movies, so I told her I'd drive her to the movies. She then told me no again and to drop her off at my sister's house, so I agreed. 3 hours later, she came home and was happier now. I asked if the movies were fun, but she just ignored me and went to her room instead. I thought this was weird because she normally always tells me how fun the movies are or whenever she goes somewhere with my sister. So I called her down for dinner and she came down and walked right past me to grab her jacket and shoes. Obviously confused, I asked her where she was going. She said she was going to get Mexican food with my sister. I told her I had already made dinner and she got mad at me and told me to leave her alone because she didn't want to eat something a dirty slut made. I asked her what she meant by that, and she said I was gross for losing my virginity at such a young age and that she was grossed out even looking at me. She called me disgusting, slammed the door, and left. This honestly broke my heart since I had gone to therapy for so long and to try and cope with what happened. But as a result, my own daughter basically slut-shamed me for having my innocence taken away. I honestly just lost my appetite and just went to my room. I have been crying ever since and my heart honestly just completely feels sad. I think my sister told her because I planned on telling her until she was older. I feel betrayed and hurt and don't know what to do. She knocked on my room door but I didn't open it. I mean, how do I even approach this?
So in my senior year of high school, I made friends with a lot of people that I knew from my church. And this one guy had messaged me one day and I knew of him because we had acquaintances. He basically texted me to say oh, whose number is this, yada, yada, yada. So I tell him it's Christine and we actually get to talking, we're catching up and stuff like that. And we're having good conversations. And we talked for about 2 weeks, but then some weird things started happening. I can't believe I'm telling you guys this story because it's actually so crazy. But anyway, I started getting these random calls from unknown numbers and it was this girl. And let's say the guy's name is Sean, okay? So she was telling me oh, Sean doesn't like you. And I'm like, girl, I don't even know who you are. And like, how do you know I'm not trying to like play this guy? So I'm like, girl, who even are you? Like, and she's like, oh, I'm Mindy. Like, I'm his girlfriend or whatever. And what's crazy is that she didn't tell me that until like maybe 2 phone calls in. And I had already like told him like, this girl keeps calling me. And he was like, oh, like that's my ex. Like, she's insane. Like, she's keyed my car and she's like broken my laptop. So I believed him because I was like, what kind of girl like calls another girl through like a private number? Let's say like she knows he's cheating, right? She would just like confront him, right? Like, why would she reach out to me? Like, she already knows. So like, why is she, you know, talking to me about it? So at this point, I'm thinking this girl's crazy because she calls me like once every day for like several weeks. Honestly, I didn't check with anyone like if this is true, if this is false, because I keep my business. Like, I do not like to get people involved, especially when Egyptians are involved, because they love the gossip. Mind you, this girl, right, she just kept telling me like, oh, he's talking to other girls, like whatever. And I'm not an insecure person. Like, I was like, oh, okay, like that's fine. Like, I'm just talking to this person. Like, I have no, you know, like intentions. I wasn't like crazy about him. We were just talking, catching up, and I was just like feeling his vibe. Naturally, he asked me out to the movies, and I was like, yeah, like that sounds fine. Oh, I should probably preface this. This guy was 2 years older than me. So I'm like 17 and he's like 19, I think. Yeah, about 19. So I go to the movies, right? And we hang out in his car afterwards. Like, we're just talking. We're like teenagers. Like, where are we gonna go, right? So we're like talking and stuff. And then we start kissing. And then all of a sudden, somebody knocks on the window. And guess who it is? I'm running out of time. Go to part 2. So after the movies, me and Sean are sitting in his car and we're talking and stuff, and then we start kissing. And then there's literally a knock on the window, like a knock. I look over and it's this girl, Mindy, okay? The one who said, oh, I'm his girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. And he was telling me that that's his ex-girlfriend. So she's freaking out. And then Sean basically starts the car and starts driving away. I literally look over at him and I'm like, dude, what the heck just happened? Like, that's so insane. And he's like, oh, I think she still tracks me on the GPS. I'm like, tracks you? How does she track you? Like, you let her track you? That's so weird. I'm like, okay, well, we need to get back to my car because I want to go home. So he's like, I hate to break it to you, but she knows what your car looks like and she's probably standing next to it. I'm like, great. Like, I didn't even do anything. So he's like, here's the plan, okay? I'm gonna drive over there, then I'm gonna get out first, I'm gonna hold her, and you're gonna run to your car. I was like, I'm sorry, what'd you just say to me? So yeah, that actually happened. She, you know, ran after me, but he got her, and I got in my car, and I drove off. At this point, I'm like, I'm not seeing this man ever again. Like, that was so crazy, which it was. But then he called me, and he was super apologetic, so I was like, okay, well, I don't know. I was like, okay, it's not this guy's fault. Like, you know, this girl is super crazy. And not for nothing, she didn't help herself either. Like, she just kept calling me and calling me after that. Her calling me and just telling me like, oh, he doesn't like you that much. Like, he's talking to other people, instead of her being like, girl, like, I'm telling you, like, he is my boyfriend. Like, here's the proof, etc., etc., etc. At this point, I'm like, this girl's a crazy, because of the way she was acting, 1 and 2, like, the stuff she was saying, she was calling me, and it was just weird. It was so weird. Then I hang out with him again, and like, we got to eat, and I don't know, at this point I was kind of fed up with all like the phone calls and stuff, and I realized I was like, I don't really like this guy. Like, I'm kind of just bored. So I cut it off, and you'll never believe what I see a week later. He posted on his Instagram a photo of him and Mindy on a helicopter ride for their 3-year anniversary. Yeah, he was dating her the whole time. So I'm a good person, right? I am for the girl. So I messaged her and I was like, hey girl, listen, I had no idea you guys were actually dating. I actually showed her the message receipts and she literally asked her boyfriend, I guess, and he said, oh yeah, Christine just made those up. Like, I had an app or something. And I'm like, girl, we can meet up at a Starbucks and I'll literally show you that I did not make these messages up. Oh, and by the way, after he realized I was trying to tell her the truth, he kept threatening me. I'm like, yeah, maybe you forgot on 17, but try threatening me and see what happens. And then for several months, I didn't stop there because she just kept calling me and being like, can you just tell me the truth? Can you just tell me the truth? So I blocked both because I was like, this is insane. I can't deal with this anymore. And that's the story time. See ya.